Can you believe it? The world of blockchain, crypto, healthcare, testing, the worlds collide. Let's talk to Andrew Nicholus about it. Holy crap, I just reversed that, didn't I? Yeah, I did. Nailed it. Way to start it. Here we go. So dyslexia, let's talk about that. Today I'm extremely excited to talk about someone that I do know their name. This is the first time I'm meeting them. Holy crap. The things we're going to talk about on this is going to be really interesting. Potter, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. Like we're literally going to talk to somebody who was there at the beginning of it all.
Super, super cool. Super cool. If you're new to this channel, my name is Matt, and this is Potter. Welcome to the show where we build financial power. That's enough. Let's bring in Nick and talk to him.
Oh.
There we go. All right.
So dyslexia is the topic today, huh?
Yes.
So appreciate you coming on. So I guess just starting with sort of your background, how you got into this. And again, thank you for coming on. It means a whole lot. I'm super excited to dive into you. Seriously.
Yeah, we do want to dive in, but one sec. And we didn't rehearse this. We didn't get a chance to gel before the show because of schedule. So sorry, folks. But like Matt said, we'd like to welcome you to the show.
For
and you want the story behind that BTC.com as a start off, that t-shirt, because I'm sure everybody's got. And I was introduced to him from my colleague that worked with me at the Department of Commerce, as well as at UI. And he just did nothing but sing your praises. And so we're really. And then I talked to you, and I was like, "Holy cow! You've been here since literally the beginning." So with that, sorry again, Matt. But,
don't apologize. No.
Please let the people know who you are. But first, BTC.com.
All right. So, Nicholus Andrews or Nick Andrews. I have been around this space for a little while. It's really interesting to see where a lot of the young and bright minds have taken what we started on, a little more than a dozen years ago to turn it into what it is today. But back to my BTC.com shirt. So back in, I think it was like 2016, maybe 2017, a really cool company by the name of BITMAIN.
Wait, we can't see that. What did it say?
BITMAIN?
That's BITMAIN.
Oh, there it goes. Okay, BITMAIN. Okay.
All right. Everybody know who BITMAIN is?
Never heard of it until today.
All right. So BITMAIN is the producer of the first and probably most successful ASIC miner company that exists. They also happen to own BTC.com.
Okay.
So everybody knows about mining these days, and heard a little snippet about another mining little thing going on earlier, Potter. But these guys basically decided that they were going to build a tool that would allow us to further decentralize the Bitcoin network. And that's where BTC.com came into play. And I was down in Miami, met with the engineers, and was a proud recipient of a nice little t-shirt at a conference, or a small conference for people that were setting up mining facilities and stuff. So that's the story of BTC.com shirt that I'm wearing today.
Very nice.
Very nice. Hey, Jeremiah.
So Potter sent to me sort of like a little bio on you and your history, your background. And I mean, you've been involved with healthcare, you've had numerous companies, and I'm a nurse. So when I started reading some things up on HIPAA and whatnot and involving blockchain for protection of that, I was like, wow, the amount of utility you've created is way beyond my understanding of what blockchain can do. So very, very impressive.
Thanks, Sam. I think that's always been my passion from day one. I started back in the whole space probably around 2009, 2010, in the first iteration of what I'm going to call decentralized computing. So I had the fortunate experience to work for a little tiny company at that time, which was called Linux Labs, and we were building clustered supercomputers for the Department of Defense, Department of Energy, and a bunch of private companies. There was this really cool technology called BOINC that came out that was allowing scientists that were researching different, whether it was infectious diseases, like you name it. This is way before we came out with the tools that we have today, where we could basically have a huge supercomputer sitting in one room at one office. Computational power was super rare. So they created this decentralized network where you basically use these BOINC credits to essentially buy processing time on the network for your scientific experiments. It was really cool.
Let me pause you right there. So that, it almost sounds like what they did is they economized. You know how you used to have that ring token that used to go around the network, and only one person could get on the network at a time, and you pass the ring? It almost sounds like, yeah, it almost sounds like they were doing some level of bidding to get the access to that, throughput to get on a network. Is that? Do you think it was based on that, or was it completely different because it was an operating system on top of a?
So I think that the foundation is true in that, right? So where you basically had this ring, this ring-based network, and Novell actually created that way back, and I think in the 80s or something like that. And it wound up that as technology evolved, you take little pieces that are good from this, from that, and that's essentially what we saw happen with what's going on in just the evolution of the blockchain space in general, right? So it's all open source technology that has just basically just been building blocks that have come from just project after project after project, great mind after great mind, and it's that's what's important to me. And just going back way back then was just like, I saw it. I was like, holy cow. Me and another guy that I known that was the founder of Linux Labs, he was like, you know what, we need to create a solar coin. And this was in 2010, right? So this is way before ICOs. This is way before the whole crypto NFT boom. And it was like, you know what, Stuart, I think you're right. I was like, that would be phenomenal for us to monetize solar energy and creating this thing. And it was called the Tucson coin, is what we came up with way back then, way before anybody was talking about coins. And like, this is before Ethereum existed. Okay. So
wow,
that was how I started down this road of being interested in what was going on in the blockchain space. Not to mention, everybody I knew was playing online poker with this really cool thing called Bitcoin, and basically using it for bets in their online poker rooms way back then. So it was interesting, but the evolution has been really phenomenal, and like, I'm super proud to have been such an early adopter and a part of just where this whole thing is headed.
Super interesting. My gosh. So like, if you haven't watched the show before, Potter's quite advanced in this world. I'm fairly a noob when it comes to this world. Like, I'm baffled of the time frame of when you started getting involved with it, and like knowing that was before Ethereum, and again, like, yeah, the plethora of I'm looking at my notes here, the plethora of things that you've done. How did that eventually lead to, is it TESTD? Is it tested?
Yep, that's it. Wow, man, you hit it on the head. You know how to drop a vowel in a heartbeat.
Got it.
Good job, man.
So I was reading into that a little bit, and what is Tested's broad mission?
So my idea was to really decentralize healthcare, and one step at a time. One thing that I've learned, in just the last 20 years of being a professional and just out here, building businesses, is that you can't eat the whole elephant. So I wanted to try to take, a really small but important task, which was making an impact around what was going on in COVID, and starting to bring that idea to fruition. You know, back in 2020, when everybody started to, you know, ring the bells and raise the alarms, it was already, you know, something that me and my co-founders at Tested had already discussed. You know, we've been tracking back in 2019, back in, you know, September, October, what was about to hit the US pretty hard. And, you know, by February, March, April, it was like, we have elderly people dying in nursing homes because we don't know who's sick and who's not. And how can we as a team come together? And one of my co-founders, who's out in California, called up and was like, Nick, are you watching what's going on? And I said, heck yeah, man. I was like, I see it. I was like, I know exactly what's going on. And that's where this all started to really just come together, is that we wound up wanting to make a difference around what was going on in COVID.
Okay. That makes sense. That was sort of the catalyst for it. Okay.
Yeah.
So for someone that doesn't know what, you know, what Tested is or what it does, what would be that brief explanation to them?
It's really a blockchain-based progressive web application, or a set of web applications that allow healthcare providers, anyone who's looking to essentially manage any of the tracking, tracing, scheduling, and retention of information in a private and encrypted way of healthcare data, a tool set to essentially do that. So that's essentially the service that Tested offers its clients.
Okay.
And and it so happened that, you know, because of my background, I wanted to make sure that there was a blockchain aspect to it.
Interesting. Potter, I'm going to let you interject and talk because I feel like I've been monopolizing.
That's okay. I can tell when you're like, oh, tell me more.
I'm just leaning in.
So, you know, one of the things that when we hit it off is I'm not here to just make YouTube. You know, Matt and I, we're not here to just, we can make this, we can build our assets in crypto without sharing, right? We're really here because we want to do something bigger.
Yeah.
And so when Nicholus and I were talking, I told him about the hotel hospitals, and that was like, whoa, that completely, you know, collides or, you know, or corresponds with it, or runs in parallel. So it was really cool because, like, when he told me what he was doing, I was like, okay, well, then my medical devices that I said that sit next to a bed, and the doctor says I prescribe, you know, let's say premium brand medication, right? And somebody doesn't give them premium brand medication. Well, if there's blockchain technology on that medical device, it says that. There's no insurance fraud anymore because they're going to be getting reports that tell them specifically what medicine went through. It lowers the costs of insurance, at least for a little, especially for the hospital, right? Because they have to spend money saying, no, we did do that. No, that was what it said. They have to pay people to sit there and, you know, go back and forth with other businesses to try to get money. Well, that costs money. That means that it's passed on to the patients, you know? So it's just really cool that your idea is exactly where it should be, because decentralized is where we have to go. Like, is a hotel hospital decentralized? No. But the tools used within it will be, because they have to be, because you have to think different because of all the regulations that you have right now, right? So it was just really cool to meet somebody like you who was like, I'm thinking about it last year. Meanwhile, you put the framework together about a decade ago. What pulled you in? Like, what Matt asked me yesterday about, you know, how did you know? And I was like, I just knew. And that's what you said today. But like, what pulled you in?
What pulled me in? I mean, that's a really interesting question. Just knowing the way that I was raised, and like just always wanting to make sure that I was helping, right? So, you know, I spent some time in India, and I had some great, you know, experiences there, going to temples and traveling, and, you know, just these really sacred places. And I think that what we always miss is that is how do we become individuals that like to be of service to others? Like how do we truly, you know, make an impact and try to help? And that's where, even way back when, you know, I think every job that I've ever taken is because I felt like I could help. You know, every project that I've taken on is become because I felt like I could help.
Right.
And that comes from the foundation of, you know, just the way that I grew up. And I think that that's what I carry forward, and just the ideas around, you know, creating and innovating. It's
So
just
you're
like,
saying
how can I help?
you were walking with that, and then, you know, like that was already on your shoulder. Then you saw the technology, you went, uh-huh.
Yep,
And you started working on it, and tested is the output of all of that.
that's right.
Well, I've been in healthcare for 12, going on 13 years now, and one of the biggest things that I've seen that is a bit of a breakdown in healthcare is communication. And I mean, from being on the floor with the patient to doctor to doctor communication, from the staff speaking with, you know, like the house supervisor. It's always communication, always. And like when I was reading through your bio, that's where my head went, was this guy has created something that is improving communication, that is making things safer. The protection of someone's, you know, private health information is something that in the healthcare world is paramount. Safety always comes first. So that shift that you're making, I truly believe that is a shift, that is a pivot for healthcare as a whole. So that's incredible. That is truly incredible.
So when it comes to like what you're doing now, like how do you live? I just realized a couple weeks ago that I'm pretty much 90% crypto right now. Right? I was like, what? You know, it blew my mind. So I imagine you've been living that life for years, right?
Imagine doing that in 2017.
Ooh. That would be like being somebody who unplugged from cable in 2002.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good way to put that.
That would be
that's
hard.
that's
Yeah.
the equivalent. So my family and I lived solely in the crypto sphere for almost 3 years. And that's, you know, that's a big part of where I'm at today too, but you know, it was being an early adopter and just really putting it all on the line. I mean, I can tell you, I mean, I don't even like to talk about them because, you know, Bitcoin back then was just, it wasn't as a commodity as it is today. And, you know, while it did have this, you know, non-fungible aspect to it, like money, it wasn't used in that way. But, you know, my friends, you know, overseas that I needed to, you know, either help me to put together an educational course in Ghana, you know, that we worked on back in 2018, you know, sending money to Ghana wasn't easy. You know, like it just, you know, there are certain places and certain tools that people don't have. One of the biggest things that I've learned in dealing with, you know, a massive amount of people in this healthcare space and doing tested is that not everybody has a damn cell phone. Not everybody has a computer, you know, and how do you work with those individuals and start to show them, you know, how the world's changing and how to teach them about these things. And I think that's a great segue, right? Because, you know, back in 2018, some of my my closest friends and I started this blockchain-based company called Areas, where we're going to, you know, basically create blockchain-based applications. And we decided, in order for our blockchain-based application to be popular, we needed to educate people. So we went with this idea that we're going to go to Africa and we're going to educate as many people as we could on how to use blockchain and cryptocurrency. And we left the cryptocurrency part out intentionally and focused on blockchain.
Yeah,
And
smart.
we had I think it was 9 colleges and universities in Ghana that were teaching the curriculum that we built.
Wow.
which we paid for all of the materials, all of the trainers to show up for almost a year. And we basically had over 1,000 students graduate our blockchain-based courses throughout that year of us teaching this platform. And Abdul Rauf actually just sent me a message yesterday. He's like, Nick, we're checking in on you. We haven't talked to you in a little while. And he was like one of the guys I was mentoring, who is now, a political advocate, is running for office, has been appointed to positions.
Wow.
He's like, Nick, you would be amazed at how many people have become wealthy based off of what it was that you taught them 4 years ago.
Right.
He's like, some of them are doing great, working at banks, teaching, and that was, again, that's a part of the mission. That's a part of being of service. And to me, that's really what blockchain and cryptocurrency really represent.
Yeah, I agree. Like when Matt will tell you, when I talked to him and at the time his partner Holden, I was telling them that, you have to teach everybody. That's the decree. It's like you're not supposed to just go, woo, I'm rich.
Yep.
And so I'm like, okay, well, teaching people is okay, but that's when the hotel hospital came.
Yep.
And I can see, like with you're like, how can I take this to another level?
Yep.
I'm just starting to get back into the code. It's fun, but I decided to pause a little bit and understand the principles behind it and everything before I start building. Everything's out there anyway. I can fork whatever, right? So I might as well understand what it's all doing. Do you have any pointers for me? I mean, for other people out there who are, starting to dust off the old chops? Because I was a programmer, right? Doing JavaScript.
Yeah.
So, what kind of advice do you have?
I think that, it's the same, and it'll always be the same as, you follow your passion, find out what you're passionate about and build around that. If you're looking for, good resources and great, honest information around the space, I think one of the best thing you can do is read white papers. Read these white papers, start to understand what these individuals were thinking when they were creating these projects, and then go look at the contracts. And then after you look at the contracts, see, and if you do understand, code relatively well, JavaScript is a great start for people that want to get into Solidity development. You can go and look at that Solidity contract and just start to see if things match up versus what's in those white papers. And, very quickly you can understand, I guess what I would just call good examples of how to build and how to educate with what you're building. I have a great white paper for anybody out there that wants to try to find it about NFTs. I wrote about NFTs in 2017. We minted the very first NFTs at an art show in Miami, a little art show way back then called Art Basel, right? Which is now like the talk of the town and around NFTs. And, we were really, just trying to, again, educate, show people what could be possible with, blockchain and creating value, creating different stores of value. So hopefully that answers like kind of what you were saying, Potter.
It does. So what's next? Like, you got this path. It's definitely fluid. You were on a call right before we got on this call, so we know you're busy. Like, what's next? How are you evolving?
I think now, it's really interesting because you and I had, a really deep conversation, Potter, about, kind of what life, how life is and a lot of the different things that we as human beings are, struggle with constantly. And one of those, and I hate to go deep, but
no, that's what the show's
go deep, right?
Out.
So you think back to ancient Egypt. And you think about pharaohs and kings and all of these guys that basically were building pyramids. They were planning for their death pretty much from a certain point in their life. And like, what did they want to make their contributions to their life to look like after death? And to be honest with you, that's what's next. I don't know what the it is, but that's what's next.
Right.
You know, so whatever that contribution looks like, whatever that pyramid is that I'm building, it has maybe taken shape in the form of tested. Maybe it's taken shape in something that we've done previously. But I think that that's really kind of what's next, is like what's the legacy going to be, like the hotel hospital, right? Maybe that's the legacy. So I'm just here for the journey, man.
Right. And when I'm trying to, I don't know, Matt, if you had anything.
No, I was going to say, you took the words out of my mouth. It seems like what you're truly working on is legacy. You know, like that's because the groundwork you're laying it can definitely shake things and shift things without a doubt.
Right. And it leans into ecosystem, right? And so we've got to just remember the internet. It used to just be all of these different components, like they all worked independently before supply chain started using it as well. And then things got a lot faster. Who do you see as a partner with Tested? Who if you can say, that you're starting to develop the ecosystem. Right now, I have to understand how dApps work, right? From a fundamental level. Like I'm talking 2023 before my first launch, I want to understand it, as I tell Matt, like Jean-Luc Picard understands the enterprise, right? I don't want to just go in and go, oh, I know how to do that. Look, because you're opening up to vulnerabilities. Now, going back, who are you working with? How are you building that ecosystem to make it all gel?
That's fantastic. So for me, just watching the evolution of blockchains has been really important. We've seen a lot of talk around layer 2s and things over the last couple of years. And a lot of that is starting to come into play now. The fundamental, let's call it, building blocks that we need in order to create successful transactional networks come down to, one, the ability to decentralize, and then two, the ability to govern, right? So what does that decentralization look like in terms of capacity and bandwidth? And then also, what is the governance of that, capacity and bandwidth from a maintenance perspective look like?
Okay.
You'll see that I've founded this initial idea was built on IBM's Hyperledger.
Never heard of that.
I probably haven't either. Yeah.
So interestingly enough, IBM created this project, Hyperledger, in 2018 and open sourced it, which is a blockchain-based technology that pretty much allows you to set up private blockchains. So, while Tesla is based in a blockchain technology, its first iteration was built in these private-based blockchains on IBM's Hyperledger that allowed us to build this massive proof of concept. Now, what does that look like in the world of a hotel hospital? That looks like that we need to have a much larger and probably more open network where individuals don't have to worry about a private blockchain, but more of a public blockchain.
Right.
So I have some candidates. I knew what they were going to be a long time ago, and really it's just watching the technology catch up to what the needs are, right? And I know that that's something that you're so good at, Potter, is really, like, I mean, our conversation was just like, I'm watching and I'm seeing this, evolve, and I know what it can be, but it's really, in the world of open source technology, it's about adoption, right? How many developers can we get in a room that are all in the same, in agreement on this is the direction that we're going in building this technology? And that's where governance comes into play. Is how do you reward those individuals that are contributing? And you got to find the right blockchain projects that have that balance, right? Decentralization and governance. Once you can really find those two real keys, that's really it. So today it's Hyperledger, tomorrow maybe it's Ethereum, maybe it's Cardano.
And did you call what was it called? Hyperledger. Hyperledger. Was that layer 2 or layer 1?
So that's layer 1 project. So it's
And that was a setup. So layer one, layer two. Can you give a more, basic bitch explanation? Because
she took the words out of my mouth. Go ahead.
Because I've tried to understand that, right? And I work with it, and it seems stupid. Like, I'm like, okay, there's a base OS, and then there's an application. There's a kernel, and then there's an operating system. What the fluff is layer one, layer two, right?
Yeah.
And why did they feel the need to call it something like that? One, we know programmers were the only ones doing it, so they didn't care.
But who the hell is they, right? And this is
I mean,
like,
you.
That's you.
You know what I mean? Like, this is a problem that we have. Is like, okay, well, is there some sort of consortium that we can go back to that says, okay, this is truly a layer 2 solution? And truth be told, there isn't one. So to add to like just the explanation of what layer 1 and layer 2 is today, I think that they're both ideas. Neither one of them are rooted in actual specifications or functionality. Okay. Right? So if I start to talk to you about a layer 1 solution, I'm going to talk to you about a base layer or just a blockchain itself. Right?
Example that we might know. Perfect.
Ethereum.
Okay.
Right? And then let's start to look at what layer 2 looks like in the world of today, in the world of the ideas of today. Well, let's just keep it in the Ethereum world right now.
But isn't Phantom? It's an Ethereum fork.
Okay.
And I'm talking ignorantly, right? So I don't know what I'm talking about.
But let's go directly to layer 2, which is Matic, right? So Matic was designed as a layer 2 solution on top of Ethereum, meaning it was designed to provide you a, let's call it, transactional layer on top of Ethereum, right? So Matic, Phantom's a great fork. There's a lot of great forks of Ethereum that are out there. Great projects that are working their ass off.
So Matic is a layer 2. Then we go to the BTC network, right? So then what's it called? Lightning?
Correct.
Is that a layer 2?
That's exactly right. So Lightning is considered a layer 2 solution on top of the Bitcoin network.
Okay, let me cut you off. Are you writing to Bitcoin or are you writing to Ethereum?
For my application architecture? Well, currently, the best, let's call it, model for decentralization right now is going to be based in Ethereum.
Correct.
Bitcoin is great, but when you have the majority of the processing and hash power in certain areas that can get shut down by the government, then it's really not that great of an idea to host an application right on top of it.
Wow, I never looked at it like that. So you're saying, hey, you know what? Bitcoin is a little bit more, I'm sorry, we don't accept American Express, right? And Ethereum is more like MasterCard, Visa. Yeah,
correct.
Pretty much accepted everywhere.
Great analogy.
Makes sense. You're welcome, American Express, Visa, MasterCard. So that was a very good explanation. Matt, did you
I caught up around the MasterCard Visa part. Yeah, without a doubt. I caught some pieces of it. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's good because Matt is pretty much, the test for everybody else listening going, Matt is our hero,
Well, honestly, like towards the end of that, I was thinking to myself, you said earlier, you took was it the company Arius, right? To Africa, right? To educate. And you said that you use blockchain as the curriculum, but you avoided like the cryptocurrency aspect. Why was that? Because blockchain is where you create so much more. You can keep spinning off and creating more things rather than cryptocurrency. It's just money.
I thought it was just a word.
At the end of the day, for me, I can't tell you how many people looked at me funny back in 2016, 2017, when I was like, hey, I have this really sound idea for building blockchain-based infrastructure. and I'm just looking for investors.
I would have opposed you greatly.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll never forget it. You know, one of these huge guys that's on the internet that sells the future of being, you know, being you, and it's probably one of the most prolific guys that's out there that holds these conferences with all these really, really wealthy people. And I went to his head of investment and I was like, look, man, this is what I'm looking for. And this is the future of what's going to happen. And his name was Sean Lamb, by the way, the guy that I met with, and he was like, you're really good. He's like, you're really good at this. He was like, you really understand it. I was like, yeah. He was like, but what you're gonna do is you're gonna come back after you raise the first $1 million, and I'll give you the second $1 million. And I was like, well, fuck that, man. I was like, I need the money now so that I can really get ahead of all of these other guys on Wall Street that are going to start building this.
Yeah.
And this is, you know, Bitcoin at $3,300.
Wow.
Right? That we're having this conversation. And I'm like, you know, hey, you know, Sean, like I could really change the trajectory of a lot of things. You guys have, you know, $5 billion under management. You know, is there something that we can do? And I was like, yeah, Nick, no. He's like, I'm really not into losing money for my clients. And, you know, I was like, got it, man. You know, so I'm going to keep pushing in this direction. And I did, man. I used every bit of mining rewards that I was able to accrue during, you know, 16, 17, 18, teaching these kids in Africa about blockchain and still just, you know, continuing to push even during the pandemic when people told us we were crazy with what we were doing. It's always follow your passion, man. Follow your passion.
I'm really, really glad I ADD'd out on us and went back to ask that question, because I was wondering, you know, like you said, you've worked with the Department of Defense, the Department of Energy, you've gone there and done that. So you've met resistance, to say the least. Like, I mean, how has that either benefited you, hurt you, or I guess made you be like, is this the right path? Like the resistance you've met, you know, it's because it sounds like you probably have.
I think that only, and this is really wild. If I could give anyone some advice, is that don't take the resistance as failure. Don't take the failures as failure. At some point, those failures and those resistance and the resistance that you met at certain times will all reveal themselves to be experiences that have made you who you are in the present moment, right? So as long as you make it to that present moment, you'll find yourself with those experiences that have only enriched and empowered you that much more. While in that time, I was completely upset, and I was completely, you know,
sure, just
knocked off of my, you know, high horse. Like I was planning so hard for this amazing meeting, and, you know, walked out of there, you know, and one of the investors was in the meeting that said, I want to put money into this. And I walked out of there and I was just like, what the fuck happened? You know, and here I am, you know, 5 or 6 years later, and I'm looking back and I'm like, I'm glad that happened.
Yeah.
You know, and only now am I glad that happened, because I've reached, I don't know if it's a point of maturity or freedom or whatever it is, but only now have I realized that was a good experience.
One of the things about the show was, you know, we went back and forth with financial power, you know, financial freedom. And I was like, I think maybe we should just go ahead and do the freedom. He was like, everybody does freedom. Like, great. Okay, good. Power it is. But let me tell you why I would have opposed you for blockchain. One, because the only people who were talking about blockchain were freaking marketing consultants, sales consultants. Blockchain. Oh yeah, we've got a lab down in Texas. You know, everybody has a lab in Texas. You know, that we do blockchain. And I'm like, the purpose of blockchain is to make it so that transactions, hey, this is a good transaction. So if I'm a bad guy, the only thing I have to do is slow you down. I know that I can't ever get in there, but I just need to attack you. And then Ethereum came out and they came up with a gas solution. I was like, well, uh-oh. that not only solves that problem, because now there's a cost to use the network. So now my random just, botting, that's not going to work. I can't afford it.
Yeah.
And then I forgot the other thing. But it was just, I didn't like it because it was being heralded as something it wasn't. But then when I heard in last year that it had an operating system on top of it. So first Ethereum made me go, ooh, okay, it's not stupid. And I'm like, you guys put an operating system on it? And now that I'm getting into the program, I'm understanding that the operating system is basically a copy of, if you go to Windows, guys, I'm going to go a little highly technical, but say when you do something, like let's say you do a copy and paste, you copy something to a memory, right? It puts it in a memory address. Then when you say, I want to paste it, it calls that memory address and puts it on your screen or into the little cursor box. Well, the difference with the blockchain is it's running one big computer across the globe. And when your address, your wallet address is just like copy and paste, it's remembered in the memory. And to get to that memory address, you have to have a special Harry Potter key, and only that key can open it. So it's all reused. Going back to the beginning of the conversation, it's all reused technology. It's just being formalized in a new way, in the new era, because I think as mankind is evolving and being allowed to talk to each other, we're realizing that if you centralize greed, it gets really good. And so decentralization might be a way to help governments talk to their people, especially their poor people, and put something together. And for us specifically, we've talked about healthcare. I don't want to get, you want to run your municipalities, have a party. What we're looking at is that we realized in 2020, there's not enough beds for sick people. And at the same time, people don't need to go in $1 million hospital and pay $700,000 in bills when they could have stayed at a hotel. Had a doctor talk to them on the screen and them not been at home, and saved hundreds of thousands of dollars for insurance companies, the countries that they're in, everything. So, sorry, that was a big, speech.
No, that's phenomenal.
Well, and to your point, Potter, so when I worked in the ICU in, oh my Lord, what year are we in? It was 5 years ago. To lay in a ICU bed without a doctor touch you, without a nurse touch you, whatever, 10 grand a night. That's how much it is to lay in the bed. So you're talking about the cost of healthcare, and everyone knows like the cost of healthcare is astronomical. So when you're talking about utilizing blockchain to make things more efficient, safer, all that, like I can truly attest that what you're working on, just one of your projects, is healthcare is reactive. It's not a jab at healthcare, but it is. It is reactive. Proactive measures that's what's truly needed to improve healthcare. And these types of things that you're talking about and that you're doing, that is where you shift things. Not just from a safety standpoint, not from making things smoother, but from a financial aspect. I mean, so I see the ability of what you're doing and the reach. It's incredible. So I can't get over it.
Yeah, he was really gobsmacked. He was like, whoa, when he read your resume.
Well,
what did I miss?
because the innovation I'm unaware of. This channel, we built it around the concept of building financial power. I'm a nurse and I'm a personal trainer outside of this. And, I learned very quickly that through proactive measures, I could actually help people with their health more than I could as a nurse. So that's where my brain goes when I see you talking about the efficiency of things.
That is a wow.
And I think that lends itself to, kind of the way that ideas and solutions work, right? I mean, like some of the best ideas for healthcare have come from people that are not healthcare professionals. You know, some of the
That's a
best
good point.
ideas
Yep.
in science have come from kids that are not scientists.
Yep.
You know, it takes an external perspective, and just really being a good problem solver. You can create solutions for, you know, for pretty much anything, and sometimes that outside perspective gives you an unfair advantage over those who are stuck, you know, who are there.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we are today, especially with blockchain, man. I can't wait to see what these kids build in the next 5 or 10 years that are getting ready to come out of high school, going to college, that are picking up, you know, what's going on in you know, in smart contracts and things like that. Like the world is going to be amazed at where this is going to go.
Yeah, I agree. It's
Yeah, and to sort of to touch on that healthcare piece one more time, because obviously I'm biased. What was it that drew you to healthcare? Because again, you've done quite a few things, but was it some specific thing that was like, I'm going to go towards healthcare with this?
It was just really watching elderly people dying in nursing homes alone.
Okay, got it.
Like that was it. I wanted to make a difference around that.
Yep.
I wanted to bring people back together that didn't have a way.
I'm blown away, and you're 100% right. You're 100%.
Yeah, hopefully this won't be the last time that we hear from you, because one, I would work with you to build this new world, and you know, we hope Build can be with it too. Because Matt, a good component is what you talked about when we just both said wow about. I mean, I haven't, Nick. Have you thought about the healthcare part? You know what I mean? Like not the physical fitness part.
Right.
I didn't think about that being a cure, but he's spot on, and I have not incorporated that idea into anything. And now I have to, because it's a critical point. Real quick story about some 90-year-old women who are on a basketball team. They play about 6-minute games, but one of the reporters said to them, do you have fans? And they're like, they're all dead. The only people who are alive are the people who are on the basketball team. Right? So
Yeah.
Matt, good way to close that out. That was freaking awesome.
Well, thank you.
That's
I
a great
appreciate
point.
it. Nick, man, we thank you so much for giving us your time and wearing the BTC.com t-shirt and just letting us dive into you. Truly impressive, and like best wishes to you that you continue doing this, because it's incredible. Really is. You have anything in closing? Anything you want to say?
Where they can find you?
Yeah.
You know, I love being a part of the shadows. I like to be an innovator and a creator behind the scenes. You guys see the projects that we're working on. Please, you know, if you want to support them by just telling someone about them, that's all I can ask. And for you, Potter and Matt, thanks for, you know, creating a platform where ideas can just really be circulated and conversations can be had around things that not everybody is talking about. So cheers to you guys, and just many thanks overall. Can't wait to the next discussion.
Right. Oh, look at this guy. That's why he's a winner.
Heck yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, for you watching, we go live 10 Eastern every Thursday and Friday. If you have any questions about what we talked about, anything that you might have gotten lost on, drop a comment down below. We'll hit them up. We'll clarify the question. So much fun. And I agree. I hope this isn't the last time. So, Potter, anything in closing? And we're out of here.
I'm just going to give Mental Boy a shout out. You know, he's a guest on our show. We appreciate him. He brings us up, you know, sometimes at the start of all of his shows. So, you know, big shout out to him. And it's one of the reasons why we're comfortable asking you, Nick, to come, because of people like him who allowed us to interview first. So, other than that, I don't have anything.
Right on.
Awesome.
Well, builders, you can see there's a lot of potential. It's even beyond the actual currency or money aspect. So builders, keep building.
Freaking love that theme.